Welcome to my channel everyone. In this video we are going to talk about Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Cardano, Chainlink and Dogecoin. Things remain exciting, so make sure to watch until the end. And if you also want to trade, then I can recommend you the crypto exchange mexc. So basically mexc was one of the only exchanges which weren't down on the crash on Friday. So basically you can also see that I have longed render almost at the, I would even say, all-time low. So basically mexc worked. And if you want to trade on mexc, then you can use my referral link, which you can find in the video description. There you are going to save 20% on your trading fees. On top of that, round about 200 trading pairs are tradable without any kind of fees. So let's just jump into Ethereum. So what have we said about Ethereum? We have said that from the price mark of round about $4,700, we should sell off. We should sell off into our first target of the old rising wedge. You can already see it here on the left side. I drew that some weeks ago. Target was $3,790. With a push, which we got down below here, we went into the first target. There I also did a video. I have said we are going for long positions. Why that? Because we have said if we are just going to get a corrective pullback, like this was here the first sharp sell-off, and we are just going to see a correction and from here sell off, then we can already make a lot of money with this. Why that? Because we went into short positions in that market stage. We have said once the $3,978 breaks to the upside, then we got our retest, we double up our position size. Once the $4,100 breaks to the upside, gets a retest, we double up again our position size. Once the $4,256 breaks to the upside, get its retest, we are doubling up again. First target $4,411. If we also break it to the upside, $4,578. I didn't expect Ethereum to break more to the upside. So basically here we have seen that we went even up to round about $4,750. So basically a bit more bullish than I personally expected, but we didn't do a new all-time high. That means that our target of $3,520 was still ongoing. And this was still our scenario, that we should get into the first target. From there we should see a bounce, which we are also going to trade to the long side. Then we are going to get out of our long trades. And I can even think about short positions, because here you can also see it was a breakout, inclusively a retest. So we are always doing for our first entries, we are looking for trend lines with several touch points. Minimum is 3 touch points on that trend line. Breakout, retest. This was the best short setup. Target $3,520. We even wicked lower than that, $3,440. And this is normal. Yeah, you will also see on Ondo, for example, we have predicted Ondo at 55 cents, 56 cents. We can look into it. 56.5 cents. And yes, we went there, but we even went down to 24 cents. In those kind of market stages, it is not possible to predict the perfect low. But you can see so far it worked, and we have already predicted new lows for all the altcoins. That it happened like that with a 60, 70, 80, 90% crash. This was not expected from me, from myself, but still we always have to think about it. It can always happen. So what do I think right now? I think it is kind of positive. Yes, we broke the $3,850 to the upside. The movement to the upside was first impulsively bullish. Why that? Well, we had so many fair value gaps. And don't look at this kind of candle here. This was based on there was no liquidity in the order book. So basically whoever bought the coin, for example here, could have just did a limit order by saying, hey, I'm going to sell my Ethereums at $4,300. And since there's no liquidity, if someone thinks he's going to buy the dip with a market order, and he's going in with 100, 200, 300,000 US dollar, and there is no money into it. Yeah, okay, this are small numbers. It might work for other altcoins, not for Ethereum, but let's imagine someone bought a couple of millions in Ethereum. Then he's just going to buy the whole order book, and then he's going to land up here. You can also see the price immediately dropped again. So that's why we can ignore this one. But the movement which we have right now looks kind of corrective to me within a rising wedge. We also have a bearish divergence in the RSI on the 1 hour chart. So I can expect, it depends for sure when we are going to break to the downside, but once we break the price mark of $4,175 to the downside, then I think we are going to get this fair value gap targeting. And it reaches down to the price mark of 3,853 US dollar, where we also have good support. Once we lose this support, I can still imagine that we are going to see lower prices for Ethereum. If we now look over XRP, we have said for XRP that we get into long positions, even into $3.30. Once we break it to the upside, might be possible that we get to $3.30. Sorry, target was $3 and the other target was $3.40. So basically we went somewhere in the middle of that, also fine. From there, we also should sell off. And I have said once we break the $2.66 to the downside, then we have to see where XRP is going to go, because there was no target for XRP, and you can see where we went. Huge crash. $1.27. And if you would have traded on mexc, like I have showed you here before, it was possible. Okay, it's gone now. Anyway, it was possible for me to trade during the crash. And there we make most likely the most money. So a fortune could have been made at this market stage if you would have traded on an exchange which would have worked. So back to XRP. Let's switch into the 50 minutes chart. What we have right here looks to me like a rectangle. So basically it can develop like a double top pattern, which is going to get interesting once we break it to the downside. Target is going to be, like, first of all, breakout point is going to be $2.53. Target is going to be the lower support at $2.41. Once we break it to the downside, then I think XRP is going to get a new low, lower than this one what we have at $2.32. If we break to the upside, price mark $2.64, then I think we can get a nice push, which might be the last push, $2.75, before we get this kind of correction. And if we see a bullish pullback, for example, within a falling wedge, then we can also trade it for the altcoin season. If we now look over Solana, I mean, I don't have to tell you that we predicted everything pretty good, because we have also said here we go into long positions lower than $195, target $230 US. Why that? Because there was a fair value gap which we wanted to get in, and afterwards get out of the trades, and most likely we are going to sell off. I have also drew here a far more bearish scenario for Solana, and it is kind of weird to me that Solana didn't sold off that much, because I was predicting Solana at round about $140 US before we get the altcoin season, and we didn't even do a huge drop, like 26%, while other altcoins, also good altcoins, yeah, I'm talking about XRP, I'm talking about Cardano, they are just dropping far more. 26, 27, or how much it was, is nothing compared to a 55% crash, or for Render a 90% crash. You can go into it. Atom made a 99.99%, so it got basically to 0.01 cents, and it's now back at $3. So basically, yeah, it's kind of confusing. While why Solana didn't sold off that much. But we want to know what is going to happen. And what I see right now is that we have here our bull flag, which broke to the upside. Target of that bull flag is going to be the resistance at $2.16. $216. You can see that we got support quite often and resistance quite often. So this is a very realistic price mark where I would say there we can get rejected, and then we have to see if it's going to be a pullback, bullish pullback, or if we are going to sell off sharper, then we might even see a lower low than this one. So also we have here fair value gap. We don't have to fill it. Actually, we can always sell off from now and fill it in the next altcoin season, in the upcoming altcoin season. But I think the chance is high that we should see the $216 because we are also pushing impulsively to the upside and also broke the bull flag to the upside. So what about Cardano? We look into Cardano and we see a rectangle. This one right here. If we break it to the upside, there we are right at a fair value gap, 73 cents. Chance is high that we are going to see the price mark of 77 cents. If we decide to break the white trend line to the downside, then I think the chance is very high, and you see that we are very close to it, 72 cents. Once we break it to the downside, then I think the chance is very high that we are going to see the lower part of the rectangle again, which is the price mark of 69.2 cents. Once we also lose this price mark, target the fair value gap on the downside, 65 cents, which is simultaneously going to be support. So there is the chance that we are going to bounce, and there might be the chance to get into some nice long positions for the altcoin season. Once we are going to lose this price mark to the downside, then I think the chance is high that we are going to see a lower low than we have seen right here. So let's jump into the next coin, Chainlink. So for Chainlink, it is very positive. I can't see any kind of chart patterns. I can just see on the 1 hour chart that we get a bearish divergence in the RSI, but we also broke to the upside. We broke resistance to the upside at $19.85. So if we are going, the candle close is already in. If we are going to get a retest and a follow through over the candle close right here of the breakout candle, then I see the price going to $21, where I think there is a major resistance which might not be able to break to the upside. You can see how often we bounced in the past. This is a major price mark, which we also have to break to the upside to be bullish again for Chainlink. If we are going to lose the $19.85 to the downside, then it's not a big deal. Then this breakout was just a fake move. We might going to see the fair value gap down below here, where we also have nice support on the lower part. Yeah, it's not. Let's make it perfect. So this one right here. If we are going to lose the price mark of $17.50, then make sure you are going to be able to buy Chainlink cheaper, in my opinion. We might not see a crash like this, but those kind of crashes, like I have showed you in the beginning of the video, that I was able to long render very, very near to the bottom. I have gave you the proof. The thing is that it was just for render. I can't do 20, 30, 50 trades at the same time, as like not with my tools, but I can't do it in the same second for 50 different coins and trying to catch the low. It worked for render. It didn't work for the other coins. For example, Tau. If we look into Tau in the next update, then you are going to see that Tau sold off. But within 1 minute, it got bought up and made a 100% push. How do you want to get into the long position? where do you get into the long position? Not down below here. So, but once we break the $17.50 to the downside, then we are going to see at least a lower low than this one. Where it's going to go, we have to find out, because it might be also possible that we are just going to form some kind of an head and shoulders formatation. Then we can measure it. Maybe we are going to find something like, okay, this was completely failed, but like a rising wedge over the time, which also then breaks to the downside. Then we can measure where Chainlink is going to go. For now, I can't tell you this. The chart is not able to get predicted from my side. So that's why I would just work with support and resistance. Don't underestimate it. The best indicator is support and resistance. We are just using chart patterns for an orientation where we are going to go. And if we are going to break resistance or support with a higher chance. And this is how we measure it with chart patterns. So if we now look over Dogecoin, then I can say the same about Dogecoin. Corrective movement to the upside, like every other coin, within a rising wedge. The thing is that the rising wedge still has the chance to get adjusted a bit, so we can also have a rising wedge like this, for example, but I would just keep it like this as long as we don't make another top. The resistance, which we have at 22.6 cents, is going to get very interesting, because this was a support trend line from the past, where we got rejected a few times, where we also got support, where we have also said, hey, we dropped lower than the support trend line, but we have bullish divergences in this market stage. Let's get into long positions, because we also have a falling wedge, and we are targeting the 25.8 cents. And if we also break it to the upside, 27 cents. And as you can see, working with support and resistance is giving us far better exits and entries for our trades. So 22.6 cents, if they break to the upside, very positive, then we can go for the fair value gaps up here in the area 24.5 cents. I will just give you here the price mark in the middle of that, so you can count with plus minus 0.5 cents. If we decide to break the falling wedge to the downside, the rising wedge in white to the downside, we might be able to see Dogecoin again to the area of 18.6 cents. If we are also going to break it to the downside, then we have to think about a new low for Dogecoin. So, all in all, we have predicted in the past weeks, in the past months, the whole crypto market, I would say, perfectly. We also traded it perfectly. The question now, which I'm asking myself, is, since the crash happened, we can't predict the market that good that we had before. So it might be always possible that we are going to invalidate a bearish divergence, that we are going to invalidate chart patterns, that people are FOMOing right now, for example, getting into altcoins. That's why this, let's say the target of that rising wedge is 18.6 cents. We don't have to get there. Someone is going to buy a huge load of Dogecoin right here, and the price is going to move. On the other hand, we can also say it might be possible that people are afraid of altcoins because of this kind of crash, which didn't happen for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin can also be seen as a safe haven. That means people might be able to use the next pushes to switch their altcoins into USDT or Bitcoin, just to get rid of them, because they are afraid that this is going to happen again. So with that said, market is not so good predictable at the moment. So it might be always possible that we do mistakes. It can also happen that we make many mistakes in a row. But in the end of the day, we have to look into a bigger time frame. What did we say is going to happen with cryptos since months? It's going up, it's going down for sure, but we did some nice measurements here, so I hope that you got a surplus value from my analysis, and we see each other in the Ondo, Render, HBAR, Avalanche, Sui, Fetch AI and Tau update.